Fang Yuan, someone shouts at him, demanding he hand over the autumn cicada immediately, promising his death will be painless. The cicada is a spiritual item that allows one to go back in time after death. However, each time it's used, it damages the fabric of destiny and causality, making the world increasingly unstable and dangerous. The man warns that today all the righteous factions have gathered to destroy him and this demonic lair. Another, with flaming hands, calls Fang Yuan a damn demon. Just to refine the cicada, he killed thousands and committed countless unforgivable sins. A woman then speaks, saying that this demon humiliated her and stole her purity 300 years ago. Not only did he massacre her family, but he also wiped out 9 generations. From that moment on, her hatred for him burned infinitely. They all face Fang Yuan, saying today is the day they will see him dead. And here comes the presence of the final boss, drenched in blood, staring with a red eye. A drop of blood falls to the ground, and everyone charges forward, while Fang Yuan calmly faces them all. 6 hours pass, the entire ground is destroyed as they surround him. Fang Yuan looks to the side, which is enough to make one of them hesitate. And then comes the first poem of the legend. The sun sets above the blue mountain, the autumn moon with the spring wind. Mornings are like fine hair, and the night is like snow. Regardless of success or failure, when you look back, nothing remains. When Fang Yuan recites a poem, I will always explain it, because it doesn't make sense to read reverencing sceneries without understanding what he means. The sun setting on the blue mountain signifies that no matter how much you shine, time will eventually extinguish you. The autumn moon with the spring wind. Autumn signifies death and spring, rebirth. So when he says, the autumn moon with the spring wind, it means that destruction and rebirth happen simultaneously. Both must exist. It's impossible for something to be born if nothing was ever destroyed. The morning is like fine hair, meaning something fragile, something fleeting, and the night like snow, something cold and burying everything. So, good things are fleeting, and it's inevitable that everything will eventually be buried. Fang Yuan is saying that nothing will remain. Morality is useless, since in the end, everyone dies, and because of that, only those willing to endure cycles of pain can survive. Back in the story, he says, all the memories of my life on Earth appeared before my eyes. Originally, I was a Chinese student who accidentally fell into this world, living painfully for 300 years, and then another 200 years of solitude after that. Countless memories buried deep in the heart. Everything began to reappear as if life was unfolding before his eyes. In the blink of an eye, more than 500 years passed. However, in the end, he failed. Being a demon means being ruthless and cruel, a being made to kill and destroy. There is no place in heaven or on earth for such a being. Considered the enemy of the world, he would forever face these consequences. Yet now he smiles and says that if the autumn cicada he created were effective, once again, he would be a demon in the next life. One of the people behind asks, "Why are you laughing? What's funny here, demon?" Everyone warns to be careful, that he was about to launch an attack in his final moments. As Fang Yuan expands his aura, everyone advances, telling him to surrender and hand over the cicada. An explosion of energy, everyone covers their faces. Chaos ensues, and the scene shifts to a peaceful village. In a temple, rain falls. An old man converses with the ancestors. Humbly, we ask for your blessings, so that this ceremony attracts numerous young people of unparalleled talent and intelligence, new blood and new hopes for these families. The incense burns out, and the old man bows his head to the ground. Everyone bows, and outside, some of them talk, saying that time flies. A year passes in the blink of an eye. It seemed like the ceremony was just yesterday. They can remember it clearly. One of them sighs, but the ceremony is already tomorrow. Will we finally have some talent? The Guyue group hasn't seen true talent in 3 years. Another places a hand on his chin. It's true. Both Bai Village and Xiongji Village have produced quite a few talented people, especially that Bai Ning. His natural development is something frightening. The other elders remain silent. In just 2 years, Bai Ning reached rank 2 of Gu Master, so talented that even the older folks feel threatened. It's inevitable. This kid will become a pillar of the Bai clan. Another interrupts, saying, "Calm down. Have you forgotten that a little genius appeared in the Fang family? The boy who could speak at 3 months old was walking alone at 4 years, and by 5 was composing poetry. Basically, an incomparable child. It's just a shame his parents died so early, and now he's being raised by his uncle and aunt." At this, an old man with white hair opens the door. As the head of the clan, it's natural for me to keep an eye on all promising talents, and among them, Fang Yuan was the most attention-grabbing. Experience has shown that children with photographic memory comparable to an adult's usually have exceptional potential. If he truly demonstrates high potential and we nurture him correctly, perhaps, eventually, he could even face Bai Ning. Even with rank B talent, he would become the flag of the Gu Yue clan. And then he tells everyone to go to sleep, as the opening ceremony is tomorrow. Meanwhile, two of them are thinking, hee, if this Fang Yuan has so much talent and little family, maybe with the right support, he'll come to my side, and I'll have hundreds of years of prosperity. The elder warns that if they are to compete, it should be fair and proper. No one should use any tricks that would affect the unity of the clan. Everyone thanks him, and with that, they leave, while the old man thinks that at least there seems to be some hope for the future of the clan. Rain on the roof, and suddenly, someone recognizes the Gu Yue village. It's our dear Fang Yuan, realizing he is 500 years in the past. Indeed, the autumn cicada had worked, and he had been reborn, an item that serves to reverse time. Among the 10 mystical creatures, it ranks 7, so it's clearly not something simple. And now that he's back, he has 500 years of experience more. Good for him, a problem for the rest of the world. The next chapter talks about a legend of a sea that exists within this world. It governs the flow of time and the circulation of all beings. By using the power of the cicada, you can swim back against the tide, returning to the past. There are numerous conflicts about the understanding of this myth. The vast majority seem not to believe and say it's mere fantasy. Very few have the courage to believe in something like this. That's because everyone who uses the cicada will necessarily die. The entire body and energy of the person become the fuel that feeds the cicada. With the guarantee of death, the uncertainty of what will happen, and not even knowing what you will become after using the cicada, very few people have the courage to use it. However, Fang wonders, what if the rumors were false and all this just an elaborate lie? If he weren't about to die and cornered like that, he wouldn't have used it either. But at this moment, he is sure he has been reborn. It's a pity that, from the beginning, he spent an absurd amount of effort. He killed hundreds of thousands, made the heavens hate him, and provoked the vengeance of countless people. All this just to finally manage to refine the cicada, which is what brought him to the past. And obviously, even though he has returned, the cicada did not come back with him. The Gus, which are this type of creature, are basically the personification of a power. There are more than a human can count, and some disappear after being used 2 or 3 times. There are also those that can be continuously used, as long as they are not pushed to their limits. While the cicada is the only one that can be used only once and disappears forever. Fang, however, believes that it doesn't matter that it has disappeared. He can simply refine another. He'll just have to kill half the world again. If he succeeded in the past life, why wouldn't he in this one? And even if he doesn't get the cicada, he still has the experience of 500 years, treasures, and rare things that have yet to be discovered. Gigantic events, changes in history, and even the geniuses of the future. He knows who the strongest are who haven't even been born yet, besides the obvious 500 years of combat experience. What he doesn't know right is what he will do. The most important things he needs are separated and distant, and many of them can only be accessed at the right times. Besides, obviously, he has the main problem that he hasn't even opened his sea of energy. He's just a common human who would be killed by a boar. To evolve as quickly as possible and ensure survival, he needs the resources of this clan. In this current state, there's no way he can keep going back and forth through these dangerous mountains. Even though, for someone who lived 500 years on the demonic path, these mountains were small. The Gu Yue village seemed more like a chain, but the chain that restricts movement also protects you from the outside lair. And in this short period, staying in this chain is the best option, at least until he reaches the 3rd rank of a Gu Master. Luckily, the awakening is tomorrow, and he will be able to start his training soon. He laughs about the word talent when the door opens and someone appears there calling for Big Brother. He enters awkwardly, asking, "What are you doing standing there near the rain?" Fang Yuan turns and faces him, remembering his twin brother, who responds, "Ah, I saw the door wasn't closed, so I came here to close it. It's good you don't forget that tomorrow is the awakening ceremony. Why haven't you gone to bed yet, brother?" Fang Zheng wasn't even surprised by Fang Yuan's indifference. Since they were children, it was always like this. To him, geniuses were always like this, different from ordinary people and incomprehensible. And Fang Zheng, even though he had the same appearance, felt as common as an ant. They were born from the same womb at the same moment, so why were the heavens so unfair? The brother, who was now considered the older one, had incomparable talent, while he was nothing more than a stone. Around, many even commented that it was unbelievable he was Fang Yuan's brother, and Zheng began to feel anger even looking in the mirror. Fang's talent was like a stone on his heart. The stronger his brother became, the more silent he became. At this, Fang Yuan laughs. Both their parents died on a clan mission when he was 3 years old. The uncle and aunt accepted to take care of them, but in truth, they only did it to keep the inheritance the parents left. Initially, Fang Yuan's plan was to hide his abilities and buy time. However, their lives turned into chaos so quickly that he was forced to use what he knew from planet Earth to survive. The clan began to support him, and with that, the uncles became more cautious. However, the excess attention made it better for him to maintain a cold and distant appearance. Since this happened when they were very young, his brother doesn't even remember how they were treated by the uncles before he showed talent, and even believes the uncles are good people. Because of this, he began to resent Fang Yuan. And the moment Zhang discovered he had rank A talent, he began to suppress our demon, who already knows he will awaken as a simple rank C talent. It was funny to him how fate had these cruel jokes. He, who is considered the older brother and also a genius for over a decade, will awaken a rank C talent, while the younger boy, whom everyone underestimated, will be blessed with rank A talent. The moment this happens, the way each is treated will be completely reversed. Fang Zheng will be seen as a dragon ascending to the heavens, and Fang Yuan as a phoenix falling to earth. It's obvious he hated all this, but it was 500 years ago. He has nothing to gain from resentment, and now, seeing from another perspective, he can even understand his brother. The brother who felt inadequate, the uncle and aunt who competed within the clan, and even the enemies he would face hundreds of years from now. The strong feed on the weak because the world is survival of the fittest. This is the only immutable rule. Everyone is driven by their ambitions and clings to any opportunity they find. In this world of war and bloodshed, there is nothing that cannot be understood. Wow, second life lesson. There is no right or wrong for Fang Yuan, only people doing their best to survive. And sometimes, the best path for someone is to step on another. And that's why he says that if someone blocks his path, no matter who it is, he will simply kill them. The motivations he carries in his heart are vast, and he knows that the path he wants to follow is only possible if he steps on the entire world and everyone becomes his enemy. A solitary and blood-filled journey. However, revenge was not his intention. He looks to the side and tells his brother he can leave, but the boy is there, all scared. A stare from Fang Yuan made him feel naked in the snow, unable to keep any secrets. With a trembling voice, he leaves, saying, "I'll see you tomorrow, brother." He pauses a bit outside and then runs away. The next chapter, at dawn, someone sets up something to make a noise and wake everyone up. Fang Yuan, full of wrinkles in his eyes, the boy is 15 and already getting old. He spent the night thinking about so many things that he slept about 2 hours. This body was terrible, hadn't even started cultivating, and even a simple sleepless night left him weak and exhausted. However, this didn't shake centuries of experience and determination. He opens the window, seeing that the spring rain has ended, when a girl below calls for young master Fang Yuan and says he's awake. She smiles and says she's coming up to wash the boy. And here we are, hand in the water. She wipes his neck, and then wraps the boy in the jumpsuit. Apparently, she's putting everything she has on display, but Fang Yuan is distracted. She may seem sweet and innocent, but she's nothing more than a spy for my aunt, heartless and empty, ready to turn against me at any moment. At this, Fang Zhang opens the door, calls for his brother, and sees her there, clinging, running her hand over the boy's chest. Zhang thinks, will she ever take care of me like that? Even though I have a servant, she's nothing like Shang Kui. Instead of being young and beautiful, she's all old and wrinkled. Not to mention that I only have one servant because Fang Yuan asked my aunt to send someone to help me. And even though she's a servant, she can't be underestimated, as she's the daughter of Miss Shen, who takes care of the whole house and has everyone's trust. Her authority is nothing normal, and even so, Fang Yuan slaps and says she doesn't need to take care of everything, because, in the past life, he was deceived by her charm and even developed feelings. If he had received a rank A talent, as everyone imagined, she would certainly become his concubine. Her status would go from servant to lover, and with that, she would have secured her future. However, after the ceremony, she began to look at him completely differently. But this is something he no longer cares about. He then turns and tells her she can leave. Shang Kui makes an angry expression, then stares at him, and then, awkwardly, lowers her gaze and leaves. Fang Yuan turns to Zhang and asks if he's ready, who awkwardly says yes. Fang Yuan notices that his brother also didn't sleep well. But today, nothing else mattered, and it was time to go. With that, they follow the village road, while everyone recognizes the Fang brothers. Wow, That one is Fang Yuan. He really is the chosen one. Truly, he's the boy full of talent, but with no expression on his face. Fang Yuan thinks it's funny because of the talent they think he has and all the envy they feel. All the hatred for his failure was amplified. Others comment, "Wow, look at Fang Zheng. Isn't he the boy without talent? He looks weak just by looking, considering who his brother is. It's a shame. Now we'll have to wait and see what grade he receives." As the sun sets behind the mountains, Fang Zheng stretches out his hand and feels something strange. Suddenly, he finds himself in darkness, falling into the sea, with the sensation of drowning. He needs to calm down and just keep moving forward. However, when he looks ahead, he sees Fang Yuan staring at him, thinking it's odd. In a flash, his uncle and aunt come to mind, the two who were always scheming behind their backs, manipulating them to create this competition, sowing envy between the brothers. In the past, he was inexperienced and couldn't see through it. His brother was also naive and innocent, which allowed their uncle's plan to succeed. But now, he is a different person, someone with knowledge that could rival the immortals. The ceremony is approaching, so changing the situation will be difficult. Yet, perhaps with the knowledge he possesses and methods considered demonic, it's not impossible. He could even turn Sheng Kui into a concubine. Fang Zheng could be completely suppressed. His uncle and aunt, or even all the clan elders, he can think of hundreds of ways to defeat each of them. However, he doesn't feel like doing it. So what if Sheng Kui becomes more beautiful? Without loyalty, she's worth nothing. What's the problem with Fang Zheng being his own brother? He can still be discarded at any moment. His uncle, aunt, or the elders, all of them are just figures passing through his life. So why would he put in so much effort and waste time on people like them? He will be merciful, and as long as no one gets in his way, he has no reason to worry about them. In the next chapter, we finally arrive at the temple, which is crowded. The elder steps forward and says it's good to see they were punctual. Today is the day of the ceremony, a turning point in everyone's life. With that, Fang Yuan descends a staircase and finds himself in a place full of crystals. Among them, he recounts that hundreds of years ago, the Gu Yue clan migrated from the central lands to this region, in the Qingmao Mountains. It was then they discovered this spiritual spring in the underground cave, a place that produced a lot of primal stone, and it's said this was the reason for the founding of the Gu Yue village there. The old man looks at everyone with the water behind him and, shortly after, a vast field of flowers. Known as the moon orchid, it was food for countless types of gu. Remember, a gu is the embodiment of power, like the cicada. Fang Yuan knows this sea of flowers is said to be the greatest cultivation point of the Gu Yue clan. Everyone is amazed, saying the place is wonderful and incredibly beautiful. With that, the elder takes the book and says he will call one name at a time. Whoever is called should cross to the other side of the flowers and walk straight as far as they can. The further they go, the better. Everyone shouts, they understand. And obviously, the further you go, the better your innate talent. With clenched fists, he is sure if he gets a good grade, his whole life will change. The first name called is Chen Bo. He enters the water, crosses the river, and heads towards the flowers. With clenched teeth, he takes the first step, the second step, and stops at the third, repeating to himself, "Go, one more step." But nothing happens, and the elder sighs. Chen Bo, 3 steps. Not enough talent to become a Gu master. The poor guy leaves defeated, and then someone named Zhao Zi is called. Fang Yuan looks, thinking, not everyone has enough talent to become a Gu master. Generally, only 5 out of 10 people have enough for the minimum. In the Gu Yue clan, it's a bit different and reaches up to 6 out of 10. This is because the great ancestor of the first generation was a legendary figure, and due to the way he cultivated, his entire bloodline carried strong genes. That's why the average in the Gu Yue clan is above normal. The old man looks at everyone and says, another failure. Next is someone named Mo Bei. He crosses the lake, starts walking, taking 10, 20, 30, 36 steps in total. People are surprised, and the elder praises him, saying Mo Bei has a rank B talent. He tells the boy to come closer because he wants to see the primordial sea he possesses, which is basically the power reserve. Then he places his hand on his shoulder and praises him, saying he has a sea of 6 by 6 in size. This means he can be trained vigorously. This shows that a person can have talent from D to A, disregarding those with no talent at all. A rank D, if trained from youth, can become a rank 1 Ju master, enough to be the foundation of their family. A rank C talent, after 2 years, becomes a rank 2 master and can be one of the clan's pillars. Someone with rank B is something the entire clan takes care of because eventually they can become one of the elders. With 6 to 7 years of training, they could even reach rank 3. And then comes rank A. Just the existence of someone at this rank is considered a blessing for the clan, someone who should be cared for in the best way possible, and in about 10 years, they would become a rank 4 Gu Master. From that moment on, they would be eligible for the position of Clan Master. Back at the meeting, the elder praises him and says that as long as he continues to train hard, he can eventually become one of the elders, so it's good to give his best. In the background, one of the masters chuckles, saying, "What do you think of my grandson, huh? He's not bad at all, mister." Chi Lian. Apparently, the red-haired one is Chi Lian, who didn't like the tone very much. An hour later, the elder is hesitant. The bloodline is thinning. In recent years, the clan has no master to strengthen the bloodline. In the 4th generation, only the head had rank 5, but he perished early and left no descendants. These generations of the Gu Yue clan are getting weaker and weaker. Then Chi Cheng is called. Surely, he is related to Chi Lian, and he arrives very nervous. He's already in the middle of the flowers at step number 35. 36. The elder smiles, and everyone is now commenting. Chi Lian tells Mo Cheng to take a look. His boy is talented. However, Fang Yuan is there thinking, wait a minute, if I remember correctly, Chi Cheng and his family were punished for cheating in the awakening ceremony. The truth is, he only has a rank C talent, but his grandfather somehow helped to falsify the results, which is why they believe he had a rank B talent. The truth is, if I wanted to cheat, there are countless ways to do it. Some methods are much harder to detect than what he's using. And with rank B talent, for example, I would receive immense support from the clan, but I couldn't prepare anything, unfortunately, since I was reborn yesterday. Basically, he would cheat if he could, it's just a shame he can't. However, the most dangerous thing is that if he had cheated, he wouldn't be able to fake his cultivation, development, and would eventually be exposed. On the other hand, Chi Cheng is different, as his grandfather is one of the elders. As one of the positions with the most authority, he can easily cover for his grandson. This is all because of the dispute between the two elders who want to show who has the better grandson. He hid this very well in the past life, and if it weren't for a certain incident, the truth would never have come to light. Fang Yuan starts to consider, what if I expose all this now? Maybe I could even get a small reward from the clan, but then I would also offend the powerful Chi Lian, who is the family elder, which wouldn't be a wise thing to do. There's also no way I can extort him, since with my low status, all this would just backfire on me. The monologue is interrupted when Fang Yuan's name is called. The next chapter begins by talking about one of the oldest legends, the Gu of Hope. In the legend, when the world was formed and was just a land of savagery and dangerous dilemmas, among the wildest beasts that roamed the earth, the first human appeared. His name was Ren Zhu. Everyone around him was interested in devouring him. Ren Zhu, however, didn't have a body as hard as a rock, nor sharp teeth or claws of a wild beast. So how could he fight against all these dilemmas? The food source was unstable, and he had to hide every day. The first human was at the bottom of the food chain and could barely survive. It was at this moment that a Gu came to him and said, "If you give up your life, we will help you overcome these difficulties." With that, Ren Zhu gave up his youth for the 3 greatest Gu. This Gu gave him strength, and with this strength, his life began to change. The food source became stable, and he could protect himself. He fought bravely and mercilessly, defeating countless problems, but soon he realized that strength wasn't everything. When he faced a group of problems, strength wasn't everything. Ren Zhu reflected on the defeat bitterly, and unable to find an answer, he gave the middle years of his life to the most beautiful Gu of all, and this second Gu gave him wisdom. With this, Ren Zhu began to understand how to think and reflect. With this acquired wisdom, he was able to achieve many more goals that previously seemed impossible. With this, not only did he kill countless problems, but he also consumed them and even drank their blood. He survived with tenacity, but good things don't last forever, and eventually, Ren Zhu aged. As his problems grew with his age, the Gu asked, "Human, what do you want? You have nothing left to offer us." Realizing this, strength and wisdom abandoned him. Without the two by his side, Ren Zhu was once again surrounded by his problems, old and unable to escape. His old and loose teeth that had fallen out couldn't even chew plants and fruits, and Ren Zhu collapsed weakly on the ground, surrendering to all his surrounding dilemmas. It was then that something appeared in front of him and said, "Human, accept me, and I will help you escape any dilemma." Ren Zhu replied to the Gu that he had nothing left to offer. Strength and wisdom had abandoned him. He had, at most, a few years of life that weren't as valuable as his youth. If he gave anything at this moment, his life would immediately end. Even though at that second he was surrounded by dilemmas, at least he wouldn't die instantly. He wanted to live as long as possible, even if only for one more second. And that's why this new goo should go away. He, Renzu, had nothing he wanted to give to it. The goo, however, responded that among the three, it had the smallest requests. If the human offered only his heart, it would be enough. Hearing this, Renzu then stretched out his hand and said it was okay. He would give his heart. That was the goo of hope, which told him to flee. It was then that Renzu understood that what life's dilemmas feared most was hope. And from that day on, every time he faced any problem, he gave his heart to it. Soon, we will understand how this relates to Fang Yuan. The lesson here seems positive, but the truth is that hope only exists in despair. It doesn't save Renzu, it doesn't remove his suffering, nor does it guarantee his success. Not to mention it only appears after he has lost everything. For Fang Yuan, it's more like, hope doesn't save you, it only gives you enough strength to endure the suffering until you find an answer. And at that moment, Fang Yuan's name is called. He smiles, thinking it's getting more and more interesting. He crosses the lake and takes the first steps. His leg begins to be enveloped by a golden energy, and he tells himself that the goo of hope had started to move. Then, an energy appears in his chest while the elder observes him. Everyone around says the power concentrating on him was less than expected, and the elder is sure this wasn't the sign of rank of talent. Fang Yuan had already taken 23 steps. Then he focuses, clenches his fist, and goes to 26, 27, until he feels something in his chest. His pupils dilate, his breathing becomes labored, and he starts to lose consciousness. Then, he stops for a second and tells himself that the awakening ceremony was a success. This was the first step in his hope of achieving immortality. The rift he possessed was mysterious and unusual, and although it was inside his body, it didn't share space with any organ. It was immense and minuscule at the same time, and many knew it as the sea of the primordial opening. A small membrane of light sustained everything, and Fang Yuan's talent was only able to reach 44% of his sea's opening. This was the limitation of someone with rank C. From now on, drops could fall into the primordial sea, and this would represent his vitality and soul. In other words, he was taking the first steps to becoming a rank 1 goo master. He tries to take another step, but places his hand on his knee, saying that just as he had predicted, he can't take even one more step forward, just like in the past life. The elder beside him asks if he really can't continue. Fang Yuan looks back and walks away. At that moment, everyone is shocked. How could the legendary Fang Yuan only take 27 steps? That was rank C talent. It was impossible to think that someone seen as the clan's genius was so weak. They must have made a mistake. Something is wrong. Everyone was sure the older brother would have rank A talent. Fang Zheng is there, thinking that not only was he sure of Fang Yuan's talent, but the uncles, the aunt, the entire clan. The elders, on the other hand, have a stern look, wondering if the results are wrong, what happened. The test organizer, however scared, says everyone was watching. Cheating is very difficult, but one of the elders interrupts and says, yes, sometimes, young people talented in writing, memory, even strength and agility, possess a powerful primordial C, but none of this guarantees that he would really awaken as rank A. The elder puts his hand on his face, disappointed, saying the clan's hopes were destroyed. Indeed, the current generations of the Guyue clan were extremely weaker than the first ones. In the next chapter, we see Fang Yuan's life passing by. The moment he received the grade C, he was in shock. The poor guy fell into the water, scared, while everyone stared at him. Even he couldn't believe it, but now in the present, he was calm. Staring at his hand, he says that when problems arise, the only thing you can do is give your heart to hope. If others feel disappointed, then let them continue to feel that way. What else can they do? What do other people's expectations and disappointments have to do with him? He follows his own path. Let others be as disappointed, disillusioned, and unhappy as they want. The elder sighs once more and calls for Fang Zheng, who gets nervous and stumbles, hitting his foot on the other, falls into the water, and everyone laughs. The elder already puts his hand on his face, saying for God's sake, these Fang brothers were nothing special. He was being ashamed today for this family. The poor guy stares at himself in the water, scared, when suddenly someone comes beside him, lifts him up, and stares at him. Zheng is all trembling, not knowing what to say, coughing. Around, everyone laughs, saying the brothers are identical, even in their problems. The elder is there waiting until Fang Yuan goes to Zheng's ear and says something. The path to the future will be interesting. Apparently, it's something positive, as Zheng blushes slightly. After looking at Fang Yuan for another second, he turns and heads towards the flowers. He never imagined his brother would be so calm. He closes his eyes and starts walking, thinking if it were him. Suddenly, he is awakened by someone shouting 43 steps. The old man smiles, saying it was rank, a talent. All the elders are now astonished. It had been 3 years since a talent of this level appeared in the Gu Yue clan. It was unbelievable. Qi Liang comments, finally, the Gu bloodline had received someone to resurrect its power. The Qi family already accepts adopting the boy Fang Zheng at this moment. However, the argument begins with another saying no way. The Qi family was weak, corrupt, and immoral. They didn't have what it took to guide someone with this kind of strength. It was better for the Mo family to raise him. Everyone is fighting over the boy when another old man says they are all unqualified. Only the current leader has the qualification to raise someone with rank and talent. The last of the elders observes, and with that, a week passes. On a sunny day, in a room, the man explains that the Gu are an essence of heaven and earth. The world has hundreds of species, hundreds of Gu. They live all around us, from the ground to the plants. A B-rank talent means someone can access up to 70% of their C, while an A-rank individual can utilize up to 90%. This type of person is almost guaranteed to become a cultivation master. Only they can reach rank 5, and anyone who goes beyond that becomes a legend. However, while the instructor is giving this lecture, someone is sleeping in the classroom. Another person whispers, "Wow, he's been sleeping in class all week." Rumor has it he's been wandering around the village at night in a strange way. Every day, he's outside with a wine jar, drinking. It's really sad to see someone who was once considered a genius end up with a C-rank talent. Watching Fang Yuan lying there, the old man thinks, a week, and he's still like this. I must have been mistaken to think this boy was a genius. I've talked to him countless times, but it was all in vain. He's doing whatever he wants, sleeping in class and giving everyone a headache. Whatever, he's just a C-rank talent, and acting like this, the clan only loses by investing anything in this kid. He returns from class, talking about how the village was created by the only 2 rank 5 masters and ancestors. They established everything here. A long time later, the 4th clan leader appeared with incomparable talent, who also eventually reached rank 5. If it weren't for a shameless demon and a precise attack, he might have reached rank 6, or maybe not, who knows. Everyone curses the so-called Wine Flower Monk, saying this bastard ruined the future lineage of the Gu clan. The famous Flower Monk was a rank 5 master, notorious for forcing himself on girls who didn't want him. He traveled all the Qinmao Mountains and committed numerous crimes in the Gu village, but was discovered by the leader of that generation. After days of brutal battles, the monk was eventually brought to his knees, begging for forgiveness. The 4th leader was merciful and spared his life. However, in a moment of distraction, the monk took advantage and managed a sneaky attack. Overcome with rage, the 4th elder killed him, but the injuries and poison were incurable, and he eventually died. Even with such a death, he is seen as a hero who sacrificed himself for the village. Fang Yuan opens his eyes and stretches, commenting that in a past life, someone also found the inheritance of this story. So why is it so hard for him to find it now? He remembers one of the clan masters who had his heart broken and started drinking. 2 months later, when he was sleeping outside the village, a strange liquor worm found him, a very rare creature. The man decided to follow it, and inside, he found the bones and inheritance of the old liquor monk. With that, he benefited greatly, his power increased, and even the girl who had left him came back. The problem for Fang Yuan is that he only heard bits and pieces of this story, so he has no idea where exactly this man found it. It's not like he knew he would be reborn at this time. The question remains, where exactly did the man from the first story die, so he can find it before the other? In recent weeks, he bought wine and has been walking around the village, but unfortunately, the liquor worm never appeared. This creature has a very high vitality power and would be much better than anything the clan can offer. Too bad that in the blink of an eye, it was already April, and now he's running out of time, precisely because of what's coming. The teacher said they learned everything about opening the sea and how to concentrate essence in the body. It was time for all of them to refine their first Gu. When this class ended, they were all supposed to go to the academy room and select one of the worms they offered. Only when they finished refining their first Gu could they return to participate in the classes. This was also the first task they received, and whoever completed it first would receive a reward of 20 primordial stones. Is that why Fang Yuan is looking for that liquor one? Because those midnight ones the clan offers must be mediocre. Everyone runs towards the academy room. While the story says that for a Gu master, refining creatures is the key to strength, everyone is excited, and a guy with a bandana tells them to form a line now because it's one at a time. The doors open shortly after, and those in line see the people on the left coming out smiling. In the middle of the room, there's an incense vase and several pots on the wall. Fang Yuan notes that the Gus, like the Masters, are also divided into 9 levels, and all those in this room were level 1. Normally, this is correct, as a rank 1 Master can only use a rank 1 Gu. To use something above your level, you would have to pay a very high price. Not to mention you would need to somehow feed this creature, and level 1 Masters couldn't afford that. And that's why every novice gets a level 1 creature unless it's a very special situation. What few know is that there is great significance in the first creature the Master refines. It will become a vital part and be eternally connected to their life. If the first creature dies, the Master also pays a very high price. That's why Fang wanted to find the liquor worm and refine it, but unfortunately, he still hasn't found anything about it. He also doesn't know if he'll be able to find it or if someone else will. So, just to be safe, he's going to first get the Moonlight Goo. This is one of the most common choices in his clan. This goo is not created by nature. It is cultivated by the Gyuyu clan's secret method. For this reason, it cannot be found anywhere else in the world. Many would even say it's basically a symbol of their clan. He's leaving, frustrated, because that liquor goo was much more precious compared to this one. Even though the Moonlight one was a specialty of his village, it helps much less in cultivation than the liquor one. And so, here we are once again. Then my buddy sees me with 2 bottles of wine. Every day, at dusk, Fang Yuan has been doing this. He buys and starts walking around the village, hoping the liquor goo will appear. A chubby guy goes to get the stones, thanks the boy for coming to buy. The so-called primordial stones are the currency of this world, and at the same time, they condense the energy and essence matter. They are extremely important to assist the goo master in their cultivation. They have both a financial attribute and usable properties. However, Fang Yuan was spending them all the same way, even though he believed it might not be enough. He leaves the place remembering that it's 2 jars of wine every day, and in the last 7 days, he hasn't had any sign of anything. The money he had saved is almost all spent, which is a problem since the money is the primordial stone, which could also be helping him evolve. Using enough stones, you can accelerate to the point of approaching those who have a degree above yours. And unfortunately, tomorrow, he won't have any more stones to buy the wine. The question remains, if the liquor goo doesn't appear, will the Moonlight one really have to be my vital one? The Academy Elders said that the first person to refine would earn 20 stones. And at this moment, everyone must be at home competing for this position, which was something unfair since, in reality, this is a competition that tests talent more. He, with his C-rank talent, has no chance of winning. When he was looking at the city, someone shouts at him, making him look back, asking if he went to the tavern to buy drinks again. It's Fang Zheng, saying that everyone is worried the uncle and aunt, he has to stop drinking. There are a lot of people who care about him, who don't want to see him like this. Fang Yuan says it's funny how humans change in a month. Just a week after awakening, everything was completely turned upside down in the relationship between him and his younger brother. Fang Yuan fell from the clouds and lost his title of genius and was ruthlessly destroyed. And Fang Zheng began to flourish towards the heavens as a new star. For the boy, who felt at rock bottom, surrounded by darkness, and suddenly was taken from there and brought to the heavens and the light, it was difficult to adapt. From one moment to the next, he who was ignored and unknown now had people constantly pointing fingers. It was almost like he was a child learning to walk in this new world, falling and trying to understand what life was. Fang Zheng keeps thinking, wow, is this what my brother always went through? At the same time that it was something wonderful, it was extremely difficult. While all this was happening, Fang Zheng couldn't help but remember the voices saying that the older brother had fallen into depression and become a drunk. He didn't come home at night, even slept during classes. Zheng couldn't believe it. The older brother, who was seen as a genius, who was a shadow above him, is now in this state of ruin and despair. At that moment, he thought, wait, isn't this proof of my own growth? And little by little, he came to the conclusion that the great older brother was just a normal person, after all. He, Fang Zheng, is the chosen one, that's the truth. Then he tells Fang Yuan that he needs to wake up to life, but he continues with the same emotionless eyes. Zheng stares at him for a second and then looks away. At that moment, he wonders, what's your problem? Why don't you even have the courage to look your older brother in the eye? I've changed completely. But then Fang Yuan walks past asking, what are you staring at? Let's go. Zheng didn't like any of this, but continues following in the shadow. The sun begins to set, and we arrive at the uncle's house, saying that in the blink of an eye, they are both already 15 years old. It was incredible that both became Gu masters, especially Fang Zheng. The uncle says he's very proud and that's why he's going to give them 6 primordial stones. The servant hands them over while he says that to refine the goo, they will have to consume a lot of essence, so they will need these. Fang Yuan takes them without saying much, while Zheng thanks, all happy, saying he never imagined he would receive something like this. He stands up, says he will always carry them in his heart and will never forget this. The aunt asks him to sit down and calm down, saying that they are not their direct children, but they always raise them and are proud of it. To the uncle and aunt, they were like real sons. They often even thought that if they could become their children, it would be the best thing in the world. Then the uncle says, "Boys, I've been talking to your aunt and we're thinking of finally adopting you for real. Genuinely, you will be part of the family. Fang Zhang, would you like that?" Immediately, he smiles, all happy, clasping his hands, saying, "Since my parents died, I've always wanted to have my own family." The aunt smiles and says that if that's the case, he should stop calling them uncle and aunt. Zhang, all happy, "Dad, Mom," and she smiles, saying it's very good to have a son like this. Really, it wasn't a waste for them to have raised them as sons from the beginning. However, everything changes when the uncle asks Fang Yuan what he thinks. He just shakes his head, signaling no. Zheng is about to say something, but the uncle says it's okay. "Fang Yuan, we won't force you, boy. You're already 15 years old, you can be quite independent. Besides, you have enough strength to carry the Fang bloodline." The uncle even prepared 200 primordial stones as financial support since we won't be together anymore. Zheng is shocked, while Fang Yuan just thanks and says that if they have nothing more to say, he's leaving. As he leaves, Zheng is telling the father and mother to wait a bit, that the brother is thinking the wrong thing. He will advise him now and talk to him. But the uncle says no need to force it. "Zheng, you having A-rank talent already makes your father very happy and content. And from now on, all the servants will treat young Master Zheng with great care." He thanks, saying that it's okay then, he's leaving. Shortly after, the uncle says it seems that damn Fang Yuan saw through their plans. The truth is that within the clan's regulations, it is stipulated that the eldest son, at 16, is qualified to inherit the family legacy. Fang Yuan's parents, when they died, left a fortune, and to this day, it has been managed by the uncle and aunt. This wasn't the kind of inheritance that 200 primordial stones could buy, and if he had been adopted by the uncle and aunt, he would also lose the right to such a fortune. But now, as an independent boy, he carries the Fang name and, in theory, has the right. The uncle, however, is celebrating, saying it's okay. They took Zheng, and that Fang Yuan only has C-rank talent. The aunt, however, wants to know, "But what if Fang Yuan decides he wants the fortune? What are we going to do?" He replies that it's simple. He's a very undisciplined boy. He just needs to be caught committing a terrible mistake. Depending on the severity, they might even want to strip him of the right to receive his parents' legacy. The aunt says it will be difficult. The boy is extremely intelligent. How are they going to force him to make a mistake? The uncle responds that it's obvious. If he doesn't make a mistake, they just need to incriminate him. "My God, do you want to die, uncle?" In the next chapter, Brother Zheng is drinking his tea when Sheng Kui comes calling. "Young master, a hot water bath is ready for you. Bring it, please, then woman." Look how she enters. Smile on her face and well shadowed, saying, "This humble servant greets her great master," while thinking, that idiot Fang Yuan wasted his C-rank talent, while Zheng is someone with A-rank talent. It will be much easier to win him over, so this was the greatest luck I could have. Wow, she's the viper indeed. Rain falls over the city. Fang Yuan is at the window thinking, it's been 3 days and 3 nights. This incessant rain doesn't stop. Since he needs to spread the scent of the liquor to attract that worm, it's something impossible to do in the rain, since the smell of rain is much stronger. Not to mention that if he goes out at any cost and stays in the rain, everyone will start to wonder what his reasons are for acting like this. And Fang Yuan knows that you should never underestimate those around you. Only a fool would act as if everyone around him were stupid. And that's why at this moment, he had no choice but to cancel his searches. At the window, he thinks, well, as long as it's like this, I won't be able to search for the liquor worm. The safest option is to refine the moonlight goo. However, if in the middle of this process I found the liquor one, that would indeed be much more ideal. But it seems that fate doesn't want to help me. However, life is like this. Storms always appear in a blue sky and the unexpected happens at any moment. The most foolish thing would be to hope that in life, no obstacles would be encountered. Receive another lesson from my dear Fang Yuan. And he's there, accumulating as much primordial essence as possible. Of course, since this is the basis of a Gu Master's power, it's the energy needed to refine and use any of the gus. These gus, which are the essence of heaven and earth, the carriers of the world's secrets, and those that define and alter the laws of nature. Living creatures that transit below the heavens, and each was born of its own will. When someone like Fang Yuan tries to refine a goo, he is going against the wills of nature, and naturally, it resists. He closes his eyes, and gradually, the percentage increases from 1 to 2 to 8%. In 10 minutes, he's at 9, 10, 12%. 30 minutes later, it seems that the moonlight is beginning to refine. He's looking at his hand, saying that refining a goo isn't that difficult, but in his hand, it would only last for 6 hours. After this period, the energy Fang Yuan provided would have been depleted, and then, trying to strengthen it again would be exactly the same as starting from scratch. Fang Yuan says that every refinement is a battle of attrition. He refined half of the goo, but already spent 3/4 of his essence. That's why in a refinement process, the energy is always completely spent. He needs to recover such energy and once again, return to refinement constantly. It's a fight between the goo unraveling and him putting all the energy he has. He uses those primordial stones to accelerate the natural recovery of his energy. The problem is that 30 minutes later, he barely managed to fill his entire C because he has a rank C talent. And the issue is that he only has 6 stones. There's no way he can compare to the people from the Gu family or the Mo family, who have all the elders supporting them. Worse still would be trying to compete with Zheng. The truth is, from the beginning, he had no chance of winning this. Maybe he should redirect his focus and go back to searching for the liquor Gu. With that, he stands up, noticing that the sound of the rain seems to have eased. After 3 days and 3 nights, he finally has a chance. But right at that moment, someone is at the door knocking, calling for Fang Yuan, commenting on the storm, and saying they brought him some food and wine. It's the perfect chance to calm his heart. Look, who's there? Shen Kui at the door, and he tells her to come in because she arrived at the perfect moment since he's hungry. Wow, and she came all dressed up. She put on all the accessories, the girl, and she says she doesn't even need to open the box to smell the incredible aroma. Really, he wants everything that's in that box. She starts serving. Wait, is that something green I see? I don't know. She calls him, pulls his arm, tells him to sit down because today the servant had the courage to accompany him for a drink. Oh, what's this? Throwing herself at him, saying that this servant has always liked Fang Yuan. No matter what rank he achieved, she always wants to be by his side. And now that he's in this difficult moment, she's there to give him all the comfort he wants. Wow, she got really close, saying she's willing to give her whole body and more. She takes the wine, drinks a bit, and tells him to join her for the night. But Fang Yuan is staring at her closely, asking how long she's going to pretend. The girl is confused, wondering what's happening. Fang Yuan, tell me, what do you want? My God, he starts choking her. He lifted her, saying that apparently her uncle and aunt sent her to seduce him. There must be other people outside the stairs, ready to invade this place. My God. He tightens his grip on her neck. Is he taking revenge or taking advantage? Boy. Wow. He even asked if she really thinks that pile of flesh on her body would work as a tactic on him. Wow. He threw her to the ground, grabbed her by the chin again, and asked if she really wants to die now. She's nervous, certain that Fang Yuan was going to kill her there. She was trapped in the demon's grip while he said that just because she had served him for so many years, she wouldn't die today. He knows her desire is to escape slavery, so she should find her younger brother, who is an idiot. Now she should disappear from there. Shen Kui stays outside, showing us an incredible view. And the scene shifts to Fang Yuan, saying that this was a wonderful trap, much more interesting than the past life. This kindness from the uncle and aunt he will remember deeply. Here's a saying, a wise person is one who foresees and avoids danger. When strength is insufficient, only fools put themselves at risk. That was the most basic saying, and we changed scenes. As they are hunting our Fang Yuan, he went to find a hotel in the city to get away from this crazy uncle. He orders some jars of wine, something to eat, and we're in the courtyard outside. At this moment, he doesn't have enough stones to cultivate the moonlight goo and hasn't even had the luck to find the liquor goo. His hope is that when he finds the liquor goo, which is in a cave, he will also find more stones there. It would be the easiest way to solve all the problems. Otherwise, he will have to accept that his cultivation is one of the slowest and look for other opportunities. The problem is that it's been a week since he's been going every day in search of the creature, and it hasn't shown any signs yet. While he eats calmly, men start shouting, asking for another glass of wine. The guys are fighting, eating, when one of them asks for the best wine they have. The attendant warns that the best they have is quite expensive. Brave men like them surely must have the money to pay. But it's good to know that this wine costs 2 primordial stones per jar. The guys are all in shock. Who spends primordial stones to buy wine like that? Clearly, the bastard must be trying to fool everyone. Then, one of them stands up and says, "This guy here is fooling everyone. Let's get out of this place." Until a guy with a blue bandana says that if they don't have the money, they should just keep their mouths shut and leave this place. He must work there to do that, because at that moment, the other guy stands up, saying he wants a jar of that wine now. The vendor just thanks him, slamming the jar on the table. Upon opening it, the smell spreads, which, to be honest, is yellowish, so it doesn't seem fragrant, but the drunks are all loving it. While the merchant says that this green bamboo wine is only available there, Fang Yuan, from the corner, observes. He knows this guy is telling the truth. Other places only sell common wines. The guy who asked to buy, however, is now hesitant. He didn't imagine the guy would really bring it, and now he'll have to pay 2 stones. But to avoid embarrassment, he shouts, telling everyone to drink, that today it's on him. "I'm telling you, the blue bandana works in this market." He says that jar isn't enough for 6 people. If they all want to drink, they'll have to buy more. The guy who bought it starts losing patience and already wants to call the other for a fight, until the guy with the bandana turns around and they see on his waist the plaque of a rank 1 Gu Master. At that moment, the fools all freeze, and the guy asks if they really want to fight. Obviously, the guy is scared, but the guy is already approaching. He grabs the jar, says the smell is really amazing, and the guy says he can keep it. It's like an apology to the Great Lord. However, he throws the jar on the ground, saying there's no way he's accepting apologies. He's been seeking primordial stones his whole life, and the idiots are spending stones on wine. Apparently, everyone's intention there was to humiliate him. The fools are shaking their heads, saying no, they never bow and hand over everything they have. Fang Yuan comments on the plaque, which means he's a rank 1 cultivator. Besides that, he seemed to be about 20 years old. With that amount of essence, he was probably at the beginning of the first stage. Reaching 20 years old, at the beginning of the first stage, he probably had a rank D talent, which was obviously below Fang Yuan. This doesn't even take into account combat capability. Even so, all the humans handed over their stones. The weakest Gu Master was completely different from a mortal. Fang just thinks that the nature of the world never changes. The bigger fish eats the smaller fish, comparing it to China, from where he came. It's just that, in this world, things are easier to see. Then someone tells Jiang Ye that he's already taught the lesson. Enough playing with mortals. He was already leaving until he turned around and said he now wants to see someone have the courage to drink that green bamboo wine. The weaklings are scared. Obviously, they won't have any courage. But the smell continues to come from the jar. With that, he himself places the chopsticks on the table. Fang Yuan says he wants a jar of that wine now. Everyone is surprised, while the man with a furious expression looks back. Everyone stares at Fang Yuan, who is as calm as ever. Then he says, "Ah, it's my junior brother." Everyone watches as the protagonist stands up. The merchant brings the wine to Fang, and he leaves. I thought there would be some fight, but they don't want to fight with the Gu Master. The next scene talks about a genius who appeared 300 years ago in the Gu Yue clan. Immense talent and someone who cultivated to rank 5 at a young age. He was the embodiment of promise and responsibility. However, he was also the one who sacrificed himself to protect the villagers and died in a deadly battle. Even though it was in this same battle that he made the wine monk kneel and beg for forgiveness. But in the end, he died from a sneaky attack by the bastard. And this is one of the most well-known stories in the Gaiyu clan. It was in Fang's past life that, in a month from today, a certain person found the liquor worm. It was when the remains of the wine monk were found, along with the inheritance he had left. And so, he became one of the most well-known people in the village. Fang Yuan thinks that at first, he hadn't realized the most obvious thing of all. If he eventually finds all this guy's treasure, there's no reason for him to pass any information to the clan. He has no obligation to feel any kind of honor for being part of the Gu Yue clan. Everyone there carried greed in their hearts, so why would he hand over any kind of treasure to the clan's superiors? And now that he's spent almost all his money to buy this wine, it's time for the final bet. It was all or nothing that night. The rain that fell for 3 days was terrible while it lasted, but now the air was purer than ever. Besides, the previous searches weren't bad, as he managed to understand a bit better where the wine monk might have died. With all these factors aligning, he believes the greatest chance of success is that night. The liquid falls on the stone, and the aroma spreads through the forest. Fang Yuan takes a look to the side, goes to another stone, and pours a bit more, creating several points with the smell of wine. He continues walking through the bushes, pouring a little on each stone in the region, until it's time for the last drop to be poured. It falls on the flower, drips on the leaf, while Fang Yuan watches. The smell spreads, and now he's sure there's no way he can find the liquor worm. Only having 2 more primordial stones and needing to refine the moonlight goo, he doesn't have much else to do. He can't take any more risks. Sometimes life is like that, full of seductive goals that seem like you're about to reach them. But the closer you get, the more twists and turns appear, until eventually, it's out of your reach. That was the powerlessness of life, and, at the same time, the charm of being alive. He observes the moon, a cricket, and decides it's time to go back. However, on the way back, when the wind is blowing, he turns and sees a creature glowing in the middle of the bamboo. From the look, you can tell right away that it was the liquor worm. The problem is that it was an extremely fast creature. If it flies, he'll never be able to catch it. He has to wait for it to get drunk because only then does it become extremely slowed down. And that's when his chance appears. The worm jumps from the branch, flying like a bullet, falls to the ground, goes to the leaf, and starts drinking. After a few minutes, Fang Yuan sees it all happy and completely drunk. It goes to another flower and starts drinking again, all happy, smiling. It's cute. Then, it seems to be surrounded by a strange aura and starts floating in front of him. It's flying away, but now much slower, and Fang Yuan is in pursuit. Run, devil boy, run, the creature is escaping. My son, get your feet wet. My God, it fell into the waterfall. Where is it? Now he knows where the treasure is, and slowly, he crosses the waterfall and finds himself inside a cave. He goes through the narrow path, saying that there he might find a sneaky snake, a poisonous toad, and maybe even any kind of trap. All these were possible ambushes left by the wine monk. Or maybe there's absolutely nothing. He sees the legendary light at the end of the tunnel, moves forward until he puts his hand, and manages to get out on the other side. He's confused. He had to walk a lot and never imagined he would actually manage to get through there. Probably, at this moment, he's in the heart of the mountain. And there, he was already seeing some flowers with a concentration of goo. Each type of energy chooses the form it takes, like, for example, the liquor goo, which decided to take the form of a silkworm. Others take the form of flowers, plants, and trees. And now, there, in the middle of the tree, was the sleepy drunkard. Wow, he just reached out, grabbed it, and put it in his pocket. When suddenly, he looks to the side and sees the skeleton of the damn wine monk. At that moment, out of nowhere, he's about to pass through everything when suddenly, someone asks what he thinks he's touching. At that moment, Fang Yuan is on alert, wondering if he was followed. Maybe his constant outings have aroused suspicion or the attention of other people, or maybe it's someone sent by his uncle. At that moment, countless thoughts began to pass through Fang Yuan's mind as he tried to find a solution to get out of this situation. He was still in the first stage, without having a vital goo, which was basically having no way to fight. So how was he going to get out of this situation, being so weak? Suddenly, the voice says, "You've already been poisoned by me, and in 7 days, you'll become a blood bag." Fang Yuan asks if he wants the liquor worm and says he'll hand it over. However, suddenly, the voice is talking alone, saying it will give everything he wants, just begging for the wine flower monk to forgive him. At that moment, Fang Yuan notices something strange and turns around. In what seems like a projection, there was the wine monk facing the clan's legend. The monk says it's amazing that he reached rank 5, being so young. However, it was a shame he didn't expect the boy, in the fight, to be so pathetic. Fang recognizes everyone, and the boy is there on the ground crying, saying he's not even worthy of the dirt under the monk's feet. He lost his mind by challenging him like that. Fang knows that guy there is the great leader of the 4th generation, and the monk is laughing, saying the bastard has the courage to say something like that. He came to this place sincerely to exchange primordial stones for the moon orchid. However, it was the boy who came with bad intentions, pretending to accept him and delivering a poisoned drink. However, he, who had been surviving, carrying the same name for so long, wouldn't be poisoned so easily. If the boy had accepted the clan's help, he would have won, but not even that. He wanted to face him alone to use the monk's head to boost his reputation. The 4th leader continues begging to spare his life, saying the clan will bring countless primordial stones. He grabs the monk's leg and says he will forever swear loyalty until the end of days. The monk then warns that only in one way would he be spared. Every week, he will come to receive 3,000 moon orchids, and in exchange, he will neutralize the poison in his body for another week. The 4th elder, drooling, thanks him, saying he's being extremely merciful. However, suddenly, he starts being enveloped in poison and slaps the 4th leader. He used a technique called the shadow of the moon. Not only is it a technique difficult to notice, but it also makes it extremely difficult to use the person's primordial C. And now the tables have turned, because it's the monk who will have to surrender obediently and serve forever. However, the monk uses his physical strength and lands a blow on the chest of the fourth leader, sending him flying, while the rest of the elders call to kill this demon and avenge the clan. The demon went mad, but it seems his power is blocked, or at least it should be, right? Because he's hitting everyone. Arms are in agony. Everyone is cut up. I guess it didn't work. He moves to attack the fourth leader, but at that moment, he becomes motionless. Apparently, he can't. He's out of energy to finish and says he'll return in the future. He jumps from side to side and, it seems, has fled. We're back with Fang Yuan, who saw all this and now knows the whole story, which was told with a creature called the Goo of Photo Audio, basically an insect camera. And now Fang Yuan knows the true story of who was really stronger and what the clan has been hiding. And it's precisely for this reason that this treasure was never retrieved. No one wanted the power of this monk, because it would lead to the story that, in fact, the fourth leader betrayed. And for the protagonist, even better. He already had no intention of sharing this treasure with anyone, especially now. The only problem is that this means someone might know, and then what happens if he's discovered? However, in this life, you gain nothing if you don't take any risks. With that, he tears through roots and trunks, even breaking bones. Wow. Forgive the skeleton, kid. He found his little bag there and wow. It was broke, only had 15 primordial stones. Fang imagines the monk must have used most of the stones he had before dying to try to recover. At least 15 was enough for what he needed. It was funny that most of the Gus in that cave had died. Even the moon shadow, which was the main one the monk used. The only ones that survived were the recording and the liquor ones. Maybe that's why the liquor one was wandering around looking for energy and wine. And since the recording one only records once and can only be used once, it's been there ever since. And the only reason the monk didn't consume the liquor goo is because it was a level 1 creature for beginners. However, for Fang Yuan, who was just starting, this was a generous treasure. Now he doesn't know. Should he pass some information about this to the clan? He could also sell the information he got from the recording goo to other clans. Those who oppose his clan would certainly pay a lot to know everything that happened. However, this would make him dependent on a new clan, and in this life, he was determined to live only for himself. With that, taking in the outside air, he's impressed that the waterfall looked more like an underground cave. Now it was clear why no one from the clan ever found this. Obviously, all this was a big secret, but nothing else matters. The monk's treasure was unearthed and stolen by Fang Yuan. The content was a bit disappointing, but that's okay. Now he just needs to return to the bar and refine this goo. As long as he can do that, he'll be qualified to stay in the academy dorms. And obviously also get resources from the clan for cultivation. The problem is he can only stay a few more days at that bar because it's quite expensive. At least now he has 17 stones. The problem is that being rank 6, he uses more stones than usual to level up. Not to mention that the liquor goo is a living creature, and the living always have more desire for life. If the midnight goo would use 5 to 8 stones, the liquor one will take up to 16. That's because, even though both are rank 1, clearly, it's much rarer and the difficulty of refinement is also higher. In other words, with the 17 he has, there's a good chance of finishing this refinement with just 1 stone left. The next chapter begins with someone knocking on the door and the bar guy opening it all lazily. Obviously, it's the troublesome Fang Yuan staring at him. The old man feels a bit awkward and asks if he wants something to eat, if he should notify the kitchens, if he needs anything. Fang Yuan says none of that. He just wants them to prepare some hot water for him to take a bath. The guy thanks him and says he can return to his room, that the request will be prepared immediately. And when he leaves, he thinks, to be a goo master. If I had the talent to cultivate, the world would be wonderful. The protagonist hears this and thinks that, yes, the goo master has the talent and power to transcend the mortal, but the price for this strength is extremely high. It's funny, but the path of a goo master requires vast financial resources. He needs to cultivate his Gus, get the primordial stones, battle items, refinements, and so many other things. And the stronger a master's realm, the more resources he needs. Without some powerful support, this is an extremely difficult path. With that, a candle is lit, the guy places the bucket in the room and leaves. Fang Yuan washes himself, quite relaxed, and then sleeps, while thinking that now, finally, he got the damn liquor worm. Much more important than the moonlight one at the start, since it increases a master's latent talent. He holds it, the aura begins to expand, and he closes his eyes. The primordial sea starts to be spent, and he says it's interesting how he's still at the beginning of the first stage, but just with the refinement of this creature. He'll advance to the intermediate level of the first stage, and the beauty of this benefit was incomprehensible. He continues focusing all of his energy around the little worm, which is there wriggling and staring at him. Fang Yuan realizes that this damn thing had a strong mental resistance. At this rate, he really would have to use double the energy he used to try to tame the Moonlight one. However, regardless of the price, he was willing to pay. The candle continues to diminish. He keeps sweating and the energy accumulates around it. Only a bit of the candle is left and the light continues to expand outside the room while he's there staring at it. And now he realized that this goo was probably the goo that belonged to the wine monk, a creature that at one point in life was rank 5. But after years and years without nourishment, it ended up weakening. Only this would explain the resistance of this creature. And the story tells that this is true. This goo accompanied the wine monk for centuries. And after going through everything it went through, it was much more difficult to refine than a goo found in nature. If Fang Yuan were a rank 2 or 3 cultivator, maybe he would spend this 16, but this one is very different. Apparently, 30 is the minimum sufficient, and now things got much more difficult than he imagined. The problem is he spent so much energy that even his stomach is growling. He decides to go downstairs to eat, while thinking about how he's going to get more primordial stones. However, when he's about to put something in his mouth, Zheng appears, shouting, wanting to know what his brother is doing, living in a place like this now. Why doesn't he go home and why is he living in an inn? The protagonist doesn't respond and Zheng continues, wanting to know what he did to Sheng Kui. Since the day she visited him last night, she hasn't stopped crying, and the moment he tried to comfort her, she just cried even more. Fang Yuan, however, stares at him and doesn't care about anything and goes back to eating. While Zheng continues shouting, wanting to know how he can be like this, Sheng Kui served him for many years, and he always saw how kind and caring she was with him. He knows his brother feels lost and understands his frustration, but even though he only received rank C, that doesn't give him the right to take out his anger on others because of the bad luck he had in life. And then Fang Yuan slaps Zheng's face. Wow, Fang Yuan says, "You useless bastard, is this the tone of voice you use with your brother? Sheng Sui is just a family servant, so why are you acting like this with your family because of a girl like her? Worse, in this situation, you can understand both. Even though we know Zheng is the bastard, he's being deceived and doesn't know. And now he's all there. Brother, you hit me. You never hit me." However, the anger is starting to take over. He says, "I know I receive an A talent, while you only got a rank C, but you also can't blame me for that. It was the heavens that." Another slap in the face. Fang Yuan says he's a fool and innocent. He must have forgotten who, since childhood, took care of him. When the parents died and life got tough, it was he who took care of his brother. When the uncles gave food and clothes, it was he who handed the clothes to Zheng. When the uncles wanted to save on what they spent on Zheng, it was he who went against the uncles and asked for more food to be served. It was also he who asked for a servant for his brother. It was he who protected him on the streets from those who wanted to harm him. There were so many things he did for his brother that they don't even deserve to be mentioned. But today, there he was, raising his voice against his brother because of a mere maid. But that's okay. He doesn't care anymore either, since he gave up the parents he has and recognized someone else's family. He is no longer his older brother either. Zheng is scared and tries to explain, saying he knows Fang Yuan also, since young, always wanted the affection of a family. But Fang Yuan only responds that from today on, they are no longer brothers. Zheng wants to say something, but he approaches and says, "I know you like Sheng Kui, don't you? I never did anything with her. She is still an untouched and pure virgin. Give me 5 primordial stones, and from today on, she will be your personal servant." Zheng stumbles over his words, and the protagonist tells him to be honest already. Love is normal, and if he doesn't think she's worth 6 stones, then so be it. With that, Zheng raises a bag there, saying he doesn't have 6 stones anymore. It's just this. Our boy looks and sees he had 5.5, since he's been spending everything to refine the moonlight goo he has. However, this would bring him closer to his goal, so he keeps it and tells his brother to disappear. Zheng wants to say something, but Fang Yuan warns that if he changes his mind, he'll regret it, so it's best to disappear from his sight. With that, Zheng leaves quietly. He goes to the door, leaves, looks up, and smiles, saying that now he will have Sheng Kui. Finally, he got the like on this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell, and I am out.